And if it's the will for me to go through it so that I can help somebody else know that they're not crazy, or that, what's happening to them is a real situation, and it's more than...
Welcome back to It's Getting Better All the Time Mental Health Outreach, providing information and support while encouraging hope and faith. You can log on to our website at igbattmho.org. Again, It's Getting Better All the Time Mental Health Outreach, providing information and support while encouraging hope and faith. And today I wanted to talk about, I entitled this broadcast, Katt Williams, Kanye West, and severe and persistent mental illness. What I want to do is share, I want you, if you can, I want to try to play this, and hopefully people can hear it. So let me go ahead and play it now. And it's a question that Kanye that was asked of Katt Williams in reference to Kanye West. And I wanted, if I could, hopefully people can hear it. If you can't, you can go to, I'm getting this from the Club Shay Shay broadcast, and it's a clip, and it's on Katt Williams on Kanye West. And I want you to, let me see if I can turn it up, and if you can listen to the piece. Let me play it, see what it'll play.
What do you suspect's going on?
I suspect that we're pretty awful people if we say that somebody got a mental illness and then we watch what they do. If you say somebody got special needs, then why would you be watching them and holding them accountable like everybody else? Wouldn't you grade them on a curve? Wouldn't you go, whew, this guy? Because, I mean, what are we reacting to?
And let me play this again. Hopefully you were able to hear it. Because I thought it was, to me, this was such a profound, so important. This was a statement right there for me. Because when we talk about severe and persistent mental illness, so many people don't understand, or they will understand it if it's somebody that they like. Severe and persistent mental illnesses do not discriminate. When we're talking about, we're not just talking about mental illness, we're talking about severe and persistent mental illnesses. We're talking about mental illnesses, and then severe and persistent. Severe and persistent mental illnesses are those illnesses, such as bipolar, that are so severe and so chronic that they impact all aspects of an individual's life. So a person can be diagnosed with a severe and persistent mental illness and still have a personality. You have to know the difference between the personality and the symptoms of the illness. So even if the symptoms are managed, they still have a personality. That personality can be one of a jerk, it can be one of whatever you want to call it, but they're still sick. Having a severe and persistent mental illness is likened to somebody who has diabetes or someone who has hypertension. It's an illness that has to be managed. Sometimes you have symptoms that are more pronounced than others. You have symptoms that are less. But it's important for us to understand that. You can't just say a person has a severe and persistent mental illness when you like the person, or they have a severe and persistent mental illness when, they do something that's really, this is really out there. But when they say or do something else that bothers you, then it's not a mental illness, right? The person with a severe and persistent mental illness will always have that severe and persistent mental illness. It may be fluctuations in the illness. There may be periods of time when a person may go up and down. Yes, a person can be a genius and still have a persistent mental illness. We are looking at people's self-destruct, and we are calling it out depending on how we feel about them, depending on what they say. Okay, so I'm going to spend some time talking about bipolar again, because we've talked about this before, but I just wanted to share this, talk about it again. I'm going to replay this from Katt Williams, and I hope you're able to hear it, because like I said, I thought it was really good.
Kanye. From a distance, obviously, I don't know how well you know Kanye. I don't know if you've been around Kanye, but from a distance, what do you suspect's going on?
I suspect that we're pretty awful people.
He used to say, I suspect that we are pretty awful people, talking about us. If you can't hear it, Shannon Sharp asked him, what does he think about Kanye West? And he said, I suspect that we are pretty awful people. Keep
if
going.
we say that somebody got a mental illness and then we watch what they do?
What he said was, I suspect that we are pretty awful people when we say that a person has a mental illness and we watch what they do. Some of you are watching what Kanye West do just like it's a joke, right? And then we wonder why people don't want to get help. We wonder why people don't say there's something wrong with me. And then when you call out the symptoms, then there are people say, oh, he's just doing that to get attention. He's just doing that. Come on, why would a person in 100-degree weather, in 0-degree weather, walk around with a whole bunch of sweatsuits on and heated and, like they dress for the winter, right? They do that because it's the symptoms of their illness, right? But again, we give and take. And this is the reason why, one of the reasons why stigma is still very much alive, because people are afraid to come out. People are afraid to say what's going on with me because they don't want to be marginalized. They don't want to be talked about. Again, severe and persistent mental illness, a person has a personality. Just because a person has a personality that you like or don't like, or they are exhibiting signs of their personality that you like or you don't like, doesn't take away from the fact that they have a chronic, persistent, long-standing mental illness that they will always have, that needs to be managed with medication, and the symptoms may go up and down. Everybody's different. Some people may have less symptoms, some people may have more. Some people may have symptoms which will require an inpatient hospital visit, some people may not. Some people can do it outpatient. Some people are able to manage their symptoms without their medications or without medications, but by following coping strategies. Some people need both. So everybody is different. You can't compare everyone with the bipolar. Well, I have bipolar and I don't talk like that, or I don't do that. Well, that's because your symptoms are managed. Or your symptoms, I have schizophrenia. I don't go out and do certain things. That's because you don't have those types of symptoms. Within the category of schizophrenia, within the category of bipolar, there are certain symptoms. Everybody may not have all of those symptoms, but there are certain symptoms that categorize, that are characteristic of being diagnosed with that particular diagnosis. So let me play this again.
Distance. What do you suspect's going on?
I suspect that we're pretty awful people if we say that somebody got a mental illness and then we watch what they do. If you say somebody got special needs, then why would you be watching them and holding them accountable like everybody else? Wouldn't you grade them on a curve? Wouldn't you go, whew, this guy?
Exactly. Wouldn't you grade them on a curve? And just like if I know someone has let's say you have diabetes, when your symptoms, depending on your symptoms, we grade you on a curve, so to speak. What is that curve? You going out somewhere, what you have to make sure? You make sure you have your medications. You may have to take an extra piece of fruit. You may have to make sure that you're exercising. Why? Because you have an illness, and because of that illness, there are certain things that you have to do to make sure you stay well. It's just like a person having severe and persistent mental illness. But one of the symptoms of a person with severe and persistent mental illness is a need to feeling like you don't need to take medications. It's not a person willfully doing that. That is a symptom of the illness. So again, let me play this again.
Kanye, I don't know if you've been around Kanye, but from a distance, what do you suspect's going on?
I suspect that we're pretty awful people if we say that somebody got a mental illness and then we watch what they do. If you say somebody got special needs, then why would you be watching them and holding them accountable like everybody else?
So when a person let's say we get ready to go out, right? And we are getting ready to go out to a party or something like that, or to church or wherever we're going. And you have, and let's say I'm the person that I have diabetes, and I have an episode. Right? You're not going to say, oh man, why is she doing that now? She's just doing that because she want to be seen. She's just doing that to get attention. No, you're going to have compassion. Say, oh wow, is there something I can do? Can I get you, something to drink? Can I get you something, help you out, get your medications, or what do you need from me, right? Because we understand diabetes is a chronic illness, but just like persistent mental illnesses are chronic illnesses. These are not, when a person has an episode, it's not something that they're just trying to put on or just something they're trying to do, right? A person could be a genius and still have a bipolar disorder. So one of the symptoms when we talk about bipolar disorder, and I would encourage you to kind of get this bipolar disorder. Let me pull the one up. I want the one. This is the one on children and teens, but there's one you can go onto our website, igbattmho.org, or you can go straight to nimh.nih.gov, and it talks about bipolar disorder. Bipolar disorder is formerly called manic depressive illnesses or manic depression. Some people still call it that. It's a mental disorder that causes unusual shifts in a person's mood, energy, activity levels, and concentration. These shifts can make it difficult to carry out daily tasks. There are 3 types of bipolar disorders. All of 3 types involve clear changes in mood, energy, and activity level. You're looking at a person can be elevated, could be irritable or energized, known as manic episodes, or very down, or where they're sad, indifferent. We call this hypomanic episodes. But one of the symptoms, or some of the symptoms of a bipolar disorder, people do and say things that are irrational. They do and say things. It's really hard to, or a person without a mental illness or severe and persistent mental illness may say something, right? And you can say, oh, that person is racist, that person is sexist. But when a person is in a manic episode or with a severe and persistent mental illness, they're like a sponge. They can pick up anything that they hear or whatever they think because there's no filter. They don't have the ability at that moment to kind of challenge what their thoughts are. So again, some of the symptoms of a manic episode are feeling up, high, elated, extremely irritable or touchy. Now, people in this state, they're excellent writers. I know somebody who paints really well, and her paintings are actually hanging in some galleries because she's that good. She will go, when she's on one of her episodes, she'll go for days without sleeping, and she'll just draw, right? And people look at that and say, wow, that's just so wonderful. But they don't understand the physical cost, the cost to her mental health that it took to get that. So some people feeling jumpy, they're more active than usual. They have a decreased need for sleep. Oh wow, he's such a genius. He can stay up all night. Talking fast about a lot of different things and going from one thing to the other, like flight of ideas. Racing thoughts, the thoughts can't slow down. Feeling able to do many things at once without being tired. Having excessive appetite for food, drinking, sex, or other pleasurable activities. You need things to feed the activity. So one of the things that we see with individuals with untreated or poorly treated bipolar disorder when they're having a manic episode is that they spend a whole lot of money. They may have sex with 50, 60 different people in a week. I've had people to leave DC, Maryland, and just hop on a plane or a train, bus, and just go somewhere. And they'll just keep going, spending all their money. And then when they come down, they will get a call from them saying, oh, do you know so-and-so? He was preparing or trying to cross the border. We had one guy who was in New York preparing to go into Canada. But when you go into Canada, I guess, because I've never been, that you have to have, I guess, your passport or the right papers. So he was preparing to go in, and of course he didn't. They realized what was going on. He was admitted to the inpatient psych ward in New York, and they called us and said, hey, we got your guy. He was trying to go into Canada. So when you have a manic episode, for some people, they may spend all of their money. They may gamble their money away. Like I said, they may drink alcohol, anything that's pleasurable. Because again, in that manic episode, there is no filter. There is no, like with a person without bipolar episode or not in a manic episode, if the thought comes to your mind to say, you know what, I'm going to go to the store and buy some food. Or I'm going to go to the store and, I'm going on a trip to Hawaii, okay? That thought comes to your mind. And then there's another thought that comes to your mind and say, well, how much is it going to cost? Okay, do I have money right now? Okay, the kids need school clothes, or should I got to go, oh wow, I got a car payment coming up, oh I don't have the money to do that, right? You reason it out, right? You reason it out, or you say, you know what, I'm going to go and I'll think about it later. But there's a thought process to it. There's a reasoning behind it. When a person who is in a manic episode, we think we do. We think we say. There's nothing to filter there. So they think about, I may say, oh, I'm going to go to Hawaii. And I just get up and go to Hawaii. I just grab my bags, go to the ATM, take out all the money on my account, and I'm on my way to Hawaii. I'll buy myself a ticket, and I go to Hawaii, spend all my money while I'm in the manic state, live high on, on different hotels, out on the beach, all of that. Until when the manic episode is over, one or two things, eventually will happen, is that you go from being manic to coming down off of that, and then now you're like, where's my money? Now you realize what you've done. Now you realize you don't have any money. And that's where the shame comes in. Now you wonder what happened. Now you realize how many men or how many women did I actually have sex with, okay? So again, having excessive appetite for food, drinking, sex, or other pleasurable activities is a big thing with mania. Another thing, feeling unusually important, talented, or powerful. When you're in a manic episode, you can do everything. Okay, you can beat Michael Jordan, you can beat LeBron James, you are number one, you can do anything. Because you're in that manic episode, that's how you feel like you can do anything, right? If you don't know anyone if you know someone, talk to someone and ask them if they will tell you what it's like when they're going through their manic state. You're on top of the world. And this is what happens when people will confuse mania. When a person is manic and they're displaying this particular symptom, you would display them as being arrogant. You would display them, oh, he's being very, what is the word? He's a narcissist, or she's a narcissist. You start saying things like that. You start mixing up the terms, calling everybody a narcissist, and not realizing that you're looking at someone with a severe and persistent mental illness, someone with bipolar, someone who is having a manic episode. When we talk about severe and persistent mental illness, there are several illnesses. We talk about schizophrenia, we're looking at bipolar, psychotic depression. Some states add others to that definition. Now, you have mental illness, then you have severe and persistent mental illnesses. Severe and persistent mental illness, or serious mental illness, is a term that is used. It's actually used by the federal government. I'm going to turn this down. It's used by the federal government. That's used by the federal government to identify what serious and persistent mental illnesses are, because it allows everybody to be on the same sheet of music, on the same page, when we talk about using definitions. Because serious mental illnesses, the government sets aside more money for those people with those particular illnesses, certain different types of resources, just because of the type of illnesses that it is. Because we recognize that the symptoms of those illnesses are so severe, they impact all aspects of an individual's life, okay? The impairments often lead to inability to maintain gainful employment, poor social support, repeated psychiatric hospitalizations, homelessness, incarcerations, and other coexisting substance use disorders. So when we talk about severe and persistent mental illnesses, it's really hard or challenging for a person to remain in a relationship for a long period of time, depending on when they get into the relationship, to have resources. A lot of times when you see them, they may not be fully engaged with what's going on around them. So we recognize severe and persistent mental illnesses are a category of illnesses that are so severe that they require ongoing support. So when you talk about bipolar disorder, you talk about Kanye West, we're talking about someone who has been diagnosed with bipolar disorder, someone who has, and as a result of that disorder, is going to need some type of ongoing support. Someone who will have symptoms will fluctuate. I can't believe the number of people who are looking and maybe because I've just been doing this for a while, you're looking at somebody with bipolar disorder, they're displaying the symptoms, and you bypass the symptoms and make excuses. Recently, he's going around saying that he is God. Remember what I just told you about bipolar disorders. It is interesting. I don't know who's around him to see this, because relapse doesn't just happen overnight. There's usually a pattern to the relapse. And this is an example. I'm not just talking about Kanye West. I'm using this as Kanye West and as an example for other family members, for other individuals. People living with bipolar disorders. If you're living with someone with a bipolar disorder, when you see that mania, there's usually was something before that. But when you start seeing the mania, when you start seeing the changes and symptoms, that's the time you want to act. You don't want to wait until the person totally self-destructs. You don't want to do that. But that's what we do in society. As Katt Williams was saying, what type of people are we? We're watching this. We're watching someone self-destruct. We'll watch people, we'll bypass people on the street. We'll see our loved ones, we'll see our family members cycling, having mental health episodes, and we'll step over them. And maybe because of their presentation, because of the way, or they cursed us out, because of the way they behave, we don't understand that what we're looking at is symptoms of an illness that's being manifested through the personality, right? Everybody has a personality. But when you're talking about someone who's saying, I don't no longer believe in God, I am God. Okay, that's a symptom of the illness. That's different from someone else who just you can't compare a sick person to a person who's not sick, right? You can't compare a person who, as Katt Williams said, wouldn't you grade that person on the curve? When you see these symptoms, wouldn't you get that person help? Wouldn't you encourage that person to get support? Right? Wouldn't you encourage that person to get help for that individual? Right? Why are we so focusing on, when you see these symptoms, you automatically are triggered by something that this person said that you didn't like, or that they're talking about your favorite person, or they hurt your feelings, that you're overlooking the fact that this person is ill. This is a symptom of their illness. So when you're looking at hypomania, or mania, because there's a difference. There's manic mania, and then there's hypomania. And talk about mania. You're looking at someone that unusually important, talented, or powerful. And then you have the depression that goes along with this, right? Depressive episode, feeling down, sad, or anxious, slowed down or restless, having trouble falling asleep, talking very slowly, is just the opposite, okay? And then if you cause the hypomania, where it's not as, the symptoms are not as pronounced as the mania, but they're still there. So, but here's the thing, with each episode, and each time a person doesn't get the adequate help, their baseline changes. They begin to look different. So when you look at I want to use Kanye West as an example, but when you look at someone, okay, their first episode that they may have had at 21, right? If they're not taking medications, or they're halfway taking medications, they're not doing as well. It takes longer for them to get back to a normal for them. With that ongoing cycling, that ongoing of taking medications, coming off medications, going into treatment, coming out of treatment, in and out, it changes the baseline, so they begin to look different. So even when they do get help, they never look like they were before. Because, if that makes sense, it's hard to get a person to look like they were before if they were going in and out of treatment. I'm taking medication for a few years, I'm off medications, next 2 years I'm just, living in my symptoms. And then I get back on medications, and now, I'm back, I'm doing well, but it's never the same. It's like a person you think about with relapse off of alcohol use, right? You start taking alcohol, it gets out of control, you get help, you're in AA meetings, you're getting support, you're doing okay, and then you relapse for a period of time. And during that period of time, you're just drinking, drugging, you're living life, you're doing all this type of stuff. So 5 years later, now you decide you want to come back to get back on your recovery journey, which is great. But once you get back on your recovery journey, the impact that it had on your body, those 5 years had on your body, a lot of times can't be erased. The impact, because now your liver is impacted, right? Now maybe you have tuberculosis, which happens a lot. Now maybe you have HIV or diagnosed with HIV. Now, or whatever, right? Physically, it's taking a toll on you. So you were here before, then you relapse, right? Now you're back, and now you don't go back here, you come back here, right? So now the next time you're fine, but now you relapse again. Well, you relapse again, okay, and then you're going through this cycle, let's say another 2 or 3 years. You were taking your medication that you needed, you're no longer taking it, so now other symptoms and other things are coming back up. So now when you go back, get back on a relapse, back on recovery, you're still not where you were. So it's similar to people with serious and persistent mental illness, right? You have to manage the illness. Okay, it's hard to get back to where you were if you're not managing your illness properly. So again, there is treatment for severe and persistent mental illness. People living with a serious and persistent mental illness can have children, can keep a job, can live their lives just like anyone else, but it takes managing the illness. As I always say before, we have to normalize severe and persistent mental illnesses just like we normalize diabetes, just like we normalize hypertension. We expect a person to have a relapse. It's not a surprise. We expect to see fluctuations in symptoms with a person living with bipolar or schizophrenia or another serious and persistent mental illness. It's not surprising. We expect it. We expect a person with diabetes to have to manage their symptoms, who may, even if they're managing their symptoms, they may have an episode. We expect that. So again, when you're talking about a bipolar disorder, it's not a thing where you get well and you're forever fine. That happens with a small population, small percentage of the population, but that's not with everybody. So you have this thing where a person is diagnosed with the illness, they may be fine for a while, and then because they're fine for a while, you're thinking, oh, they're okay, and then when something happens, you think, oh, they're just saying that. Instead of focusing so much on what they're saying, how about trying to see what we can do to get this person help? Okay, what they're saying is a symptom that this person needs help. Let me see if I can move through this quickly in my 6 minutes that I have here. Again, so when we look at like bipolar disorders, okay. During an episode, a person, or a manic or hypomanic episode, and as I said, that's a less severe form of mania, hypomania. During a hypomanic episode, a person may feel very good, be able to get things done, and keep up with day-to-day lifestyle. This is the key. During a hypomanic episode, an individual may feel great, they may be able to get things done, and keep up with day-to-day lifestyle. The person may not feel that anything is wrong, but many family members and friends recognize changes in mood or activity levels as possible symptoms of bipolar disorder. Without proper treatment, people with hypomania can develop severe mania or depression. So you're looking at hypomania, mania or depression, because the person can have both or one or the other. But hypomania, if you see a person that's manic, you can really tell, oh, wow, is this really going on? Hypomania, maybe less so, especially because the person is managing, right? But they're still displaying some of those symptoms. They're still saying things that don't make sense. They're still going around talking about, I'm God, or I don't believe in God anymore because I realize that I'm now God. They're still, spending money. They're still doing things that's kind of outside of the norm. People like to use this excuse, oh, they're not a genius, they're just a genius, and they do certain things. All right, that's fine if you want to hide behind that. But it's 95 degrees out there, outside. Why is this genius person walking around with a full sweatsuit, right? Everybody else is sweating in shorts. They're walking around in clothes that don't fit they're wearing clothes that don't fit the temperature. That's a sign. That's one of the signs that we look for, right? In the work that I do. But why don't you see that? Why you don't know that there's something wrong with that? Right? So I have to question that. What is wrong with you? What is wrong with us? Now we think that's okay. Oh, that he's really a genius. He's ahead of the time. Yeah, he may be wearing something that he created, but that suit that he's wearing is 105 degrees in that suit, and it's 95 degrees outside. Why is he walking around in that suit? And you think, oh wow, that's a genius, that's really great. Come on, we do that because we pick and choose. We have to be able to separate when a person is sick, they're sick. It has nothing to do whether I like you or not. Oh, he's saying things, oh, he don't believe in God anymore. He never believed in God before, or he's a person, that's what happens, he used the Christian community, he wasn't really that. The man is sick. He don't know when in a symptom, when you're having episodes, hypomania, mania, you don't know what you're saying at that particular moment. Now, yes he does, yes he does. What happens is you don't have the filter. You don't have the ability to process what you're saying doesn't make sense. It's like you may have said something in front of your child about a friend. Well, I don't like going to her house because the house is never clean, right? But you go. You're able to go. You're able to think it and not say it. You're able to go and kind of, oh, she brings food, you get the food, oh, it tastes good. And then maybe when she goes, you guys say, don't eat that. But your 5-year-old doesn't have that ability to do that. So as soon as they get there, your friend will offer your 5-year-old something, and they may say, no, I don't want that because your house is not clean. And everybody's looking, and you're smiling like, I don't know why she said that. She said it because she doesn't have the filter. They don't have the ability to kind of orient to person, place, and time. When a person is in a manic episode or a hypomanic episode, they don't have the ability to orient properly to person, place, or time. Okay, they don't have to orient to know. Okay, yes, everybody has a feeling at one time or another where they doubt God. Okay, that's normal feeling. Everybody has that. Everybody, if you haven't, just keep living. And if you haven't, then you're a blessed person. But everybody has that. Everybody's going to have a point in their life where they begin to challenge everything that they once believed. Okay, is this right? That's human. That's natural to do that, especially as we go and progress. I used to like apple pie. Now that I've been around other people, I realize, I like peach pie. Right? It's natural to grow, right? There's nothing wrong with challenging that. Who is God? Why does God exist? All of those things are natural. They're natural. There's nothing wrong with that. But when you have a person with a severe and persistent mental illness or bipolar, it makes it worse because there's no filter. So again, bipolar, genetics, we're looking at brain structure, environmental, it could be a trigger. It's treated with medications. Therapy, talking to people, it's important to find the right medications. If you are living with bipolar, you want to make sure that you stick with your treatment plan. You want to make sure you have exercises, that you have friends, that you realize that you have an illness that has to be managed. It's getting better all the time. Mental health outreach, providing information and support while encouraging hope and faith. Educate yourself about bipolar before you start talking and saying things that are not accurate, that are not true. Have a great day, and God bless you. Again, it's getting better all the time. Mental health outreach. What type of people are we when we watch a person self-destruct and laugh and think it's funny, think it's cute, and we do nothing? We do nothing to get the person help. All we do is talk about it. Let's use this opportunity to talk about mental illness in a positive way. Let's talk about mental illness, bipolar, in a way that would encourage people to get help.